All right, just before we go to the approval of the agenda, I would note that the deputy warden is not here this evening because he is attending the graduation at Hants North on behalf of council. So next, I would be looking for the approval of or amendments to the agenda. Councillor McPhee, do we have a seconder? Okay, Councillor McPhee?
Thank you, Warden. I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda to add an in-camera item
For,
for, I guess it would be I&O.
but it has to be legal or contractual.
Oh,
We can't go in
It's a
camera.
land issue.
Land issue?
Contractual,
issue.
okay.
Okay. Does the mover and the seconder agree?
Agree.
Agree? Okay. And that would be at the end of the evening?
Business from council?
Same time to do CIO.
After the CAO priorities.
Before that.
Or
We'll see it
before.
camera.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary, motion is carried. Next, I'd be looking for the approval of the minutes of May 21st, 2024 of council policy and in camera, and May 29th, 2024 regular meeting of council.
So moved by Nier to second.
Moved by Councillor Rhino, seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. Next, we'll move to correspondence for information. And you see this before you, councilors. Is there any, and you've had it for some time? Can't see the monitor there, Mike. Councillor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I'm just looking for a letter here. I thought I could bring it right up. It's from Chris Hopewell regarding softball or ball in the corridor area and the conditions of the fields that may or may not fall under Lance Recreation or just in general. And I'm just having a little trouble locating it. I responded to him on the 6th or 7th, but maybe that is not under the documents that I'm seeing for this time period.
Okay, I do believe the CAO responded to that letter, Kim.
Through you, Madam Warden, I'm just going to check with Shirley if she recalls. I don't think that was actually sent to council. It was sent to councilors.
Okay.
So if something gets sent to council, it gets posted for information, for either for a decision or for, but we did respond to Mr. Hopewell, and Alana had a conversation with him, and they've since gotten some community grants to help restore the fields, and the fields in Shubenacadie have been done.
Oh, so, okay, can I just hear a little, so through you to staff, can you outline just what's been,
Sorry, Sam.
I guess we got the letter, and then I did see an email saying that staff had been, but I would just
Yeah.
like to know where it's at, and,
The other piece to it was requesting sort of that high-level infrastructure in the community.
That
So
was-
that is going to be referred to your recreation facilities master plan project
Right.
that's happening this year.
right, and I think that was part of the email, but I would still be interested in knowing what's happened.
Lana?
Thank you, through Madam Warden. So initially, the group had reached out, in which case we did reference the Recreation Facilities Master Plan that we'll be working on this year. We had also committed to working or meeting with the softball group, which we do have a meeting planned for this Friday. The condition of the Shuby ball fields, we discussed that as well. So we directed them towards the community grant program. The group is in the process of applying. They also did some work just recently to upgrade the infield, et cetera, that they did as a volunteer group. So those pieces have been done at Shuby specifically because they have used that, and they do have an agreement to use that for this year. And anything further from that in terms of condition of Lance Rec, ball fields, et cetera, will be something that we can discuss when myself and Joe Swinnemer meet with them on Friday.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you for the update. That's it from me.
Thank you. Counselor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Item number 67, the letter from John Gosh, Riverstone 214 Limited. I received a call from him following executive. It was a long discussion, him explaining his side of the story or what his request was. And I just talked back and forth, and my conversation dealt with what his request was and he replied back the email he sent to council about his cost and why his cost is so high. But hearing through the grapevine, there are other places that had commercial that have been leased since then. So my question to him was, is there a need for commercial? And I said, as far as I know, there is, because across from Elmsville Fire Hall, there's a big sign saying they're putting up a 2-story commercial building, so there must be a need. And since then, he sent the letter out dated the 24th, so looking for us to support his request. But it didn't seem that the request was valid based on what I'm seeing around the village.
We'll
So-
have, that will be coming up under PAC, correct?
So that's where it stands from my point of view. Thank you.
Counsel? Anything else under correspondence for information? And we seem to have lost the online agenda. It's being worked on as we speak. So I have a paper copy, so we're going to carry on. All right. Although we may not be able to bring up our
Yeah.
correspondence for
If you go under
decision.
documents, the.
Yeah, my agenda's still there.
They're under documents.
We'll go to correspondence for decision.
There it is.
Is it back?
It's back.
It's back.
I don't have it. No. Oh, yeah, never mind. Okay, I don't have anything on the screen.
Okay, and the first item, going from top to bottom, is a request from the Halifax East Hants 4-H Council. We approved a grant in 2022 and 2023 for $100 each year. And the suggestion being that if we wish to continue to support this group, that we include an amount for this year and subsequent years as part of a general government grants request. But the request is in front of you, councillors. Councillor Rhino.
Move that this request be sent to Executive Committee to Corporate and Residential Services, part of it.
They need a reply by July the 14th, councillor.
Well, I guess that's not going to work.
So do you want to withdraw the motion, or?
I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay. Councillor Tingley.
Through the chair, do we have people in East Hants that are benefiting from
Yes.
this 4-H?
There are two 4-H regions within East Hants. This is one of them. And I was racking my brains to remember the name of the other one before the meeting, but it hasn't come to me. But there are two regions within East Hants and clubs. Shoe Mill and Hardwood Lands would belong to this particular group. Just off the top of my head from my work in 4-H, I know that. And Rodden Two-Way and some other belong to the other group, yeah.
Then I'd move that council fund $100 to this group again in 2024.
Moved and seconded. Counselor Eisner. All right, is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question's been called.
Oh, Councilor Mitchell.
Oh, sorry, Counselor Mitchell.
Is your motion just for this 1 year and not subsequent years? Is that what you're thinking about?
I was gonna suggest if this motion, once we've dealt with this motion, perhaps we make a motion to add it to general grants, if that's the wish,
Sure.
just so
Yep.
that it's funded. Counselor Rhino to the motion?
I'll support this current motion, but I would suggest that anything further be sent to corporate and residentials for discussion on, please.
Okay, are you ready for the question on the motion? The motion is passed unanimously. Now, does someone wish to make a motion to either send this to corporate and residential services to see about adding it to general community grants, or a motion to just add it? To the draft budget.
I would move that with regard to making this an annual thing, to send this to corporate and residential services. And could we have the information on other 4-H groups and if they receive some similar funding or more or what? So then we could, at that time, probably even the playing field. Thank you.
The other option is to add it to the draft budget, and it would be discussed at budget time. But seconded by Councilor Musa, CAO.
Through you, Madam Warden, would it be acceptable to council if that report was brought to corporate residential services at budget time?
Well, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? Question's been called, we'll go to the vote. The motion is passed unanimously. Next item, ABO Energy Canada is submitting the Melvin Lake Wind Project into the Green Choice Program. As part of their commitment, ABO Energy Canada will establish an East Hants Community Benefit Fund and Committee, requesting Council's acceptance of the fund offer and appoint a representative to the community committee once established. Who's taking this one? John.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Yeah, this is something they want to add to their application, which I think is due at the end of this week. And it's a thing that happens anyway. I think they just want to strengthen their application by indicating that the municipality is agreeing to participate in the committee.
Okay, so is, Councilor Perry.
Thank you. Through you, Warden, to staff, John. When looking at the letter, it talks about a one-time amount to initiate the fund, and that's the starter seed for the fund, and then the normal revenue, I believe, that was generated as divided by the number of turbines would then continue to come in year after year, or is it a one-time fee, that's it?
Through you, Madam Warden, yes, there would be ongoing revenue. Now, there are two streams. There's municipal taxation, which goes to the municipality, but then there's the Community Benefits Fund, which would, on an annual basis, flow. And we have other committees in the municipality already established that do that.
Okay, yeah, the way it was worded, I was kind of like just making sure that the continued contributions to the fund was going on, that it wasn't, you get this amount of money and then whatever else, it'll just be the taxation. We want to make sure that every year goes in, because that allows for the community groups in the area to plan and budget accordingly, that those funds will become available and be able to be used within the community. So I will move the recommended motion to send this, to endorse that a member of council be appointed to the community committee.
Do we have a seconder? Moved and seconded, CAO. Just 1 second.
Through you, Madam Warden, just for clarification, this would not be a member of council who reports back to council. This is not a committee of council. So there are other committees that the local area councillor sits on for these wind projects. So that's the intent of this letter. It's not a committee of council that you then have to represent
send
council
some-
on.
okay.
You're representing the local area as if, you know, because you are a councillor, you're key to that decision-making, but
It's very similar to the Pocwock Watershed Advisory Committee.
yes, and there's Nine Mile River has a committee similar to this where the councillor can feed into it, but not necessarily back to council.
Counselor Hibb.
Thank you, Warden. Yes, I'm the chair for the Nalma River Wind Towers and the chair for the Harvard Land Wind Towers. And I am not there as a capacity as a counselor. It states in the bylaw that a counselor can be present at the meetings and chair the meetings. It's not mandatory for a counselor to do that, or even set in there. So we put that in the bylaw so that if there was a report had to go to council, a counselor who was there would have a better understanding what's going on and whatever. So a little more clarification. Thank you.
Counselor Musa.
Thank you, Madam Warden. So I guess with this one, there's going to be two districts that benefit from this one, and I'm happy with the councillor from the Rawdon area to be there. But would that be some information that I could get from so they could share with me?
This is the current counselor from Rawdon. I'm not intending to sit on this committee. This is a different wind energy project than the Spruce one.
That's the one. Oh, that's a different the one.
That's a
That's the
different-
one on the other side
Yeah.
of Highway 1. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Question's been called. The motion is passed unanimously. Next, we have a request from the Come Home East Hants Association seeking renewed support for Tide Fest by sponsoring the full cost of the venue rental. Alana.
Thank you, through you, Madam Warden. The Come Home East Hants Society has reached out to council, and they are requesting renewed support in the form of covering the sponsoring the venue rental for the annual event. So the event is held at the Sportsplex from July 12th to 14th. The venue rental that they had previously paid was $4,000, so that is a reduction from sort of a typical rental, which would be double that cost. And they did receive TED funds, I believe, for a number of years up until 2019. And the particular motion of council from 2019 had indicated at that point it would be the final contribution with the intent that the group had achieved profitability. But they did reach out with the change of ownership and operations to the municipality that they were seeking renewed support.
Thank you. Will you press?
I took myself off, so.
Counselor Rhino.
So through you to staff. So they had an agreement for this year for 4,000. Am I correct in that? Or am I not understanding this correct?
The previous rate from last year that they agreed upon with the operators for the East Hants Arena Association was $4,000. So in keeping with that transition, we agreed to keep that rate for this year. And then, yeah, so it would be $4,000, same as last
So
year.
we've agreed to honor that commitment made
The
by the prior.
$4,000, yes.
For 4,000.
Yeah.
Now they're asking for the full 9,000?
No, they're asking for the 4,000.
We're asking for the
They're
4,000.
asking for a reduction. They're asking for the use of the facility at no charge.
With no charge.
Yes.
Well, I mean, if we, all community events or groups that asked to use that facility at no charge, we'd be running that there for free for everybody. And if we do this at no charge for this group, I think that would set a precedent for other groups down the road, because they could come back and say, well, you give us this facility, you give them the facility for free of charge, we expect to be honored in the same fashion. So unless I hear different from other counselors around, I think the $4,000 is very fair. Thank you.
Counselors, anyone else? Counselor Tingley.
Through the chair, I know in the last few years, they've been struggling to get volunteers to help, but this year they seem to be a lot more organized. Looks like they've lost a sponsor. This is not like a group that, like a hockey team or a soccer team or an individual group. This is like a group for the entire municipality. I think it's a good thing. I don't think I'd want to endorse it for every year going forward. But I think this is kind of a comeback year for them. They're making a real good effort to do this. I would give them the full support for this year and then review it for years going forward. I'd make that motion.
Okay, do we have a seconder to the motion? Seconded by Counselor Head. Okay, on before the motion, Counselor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. So I just want to get this straight. Previously, we have charged them $4,000 through you to staff. This year, they want to forego that and just have the facility with no charge. And they're also looking to have us commit to that down the road as well. Is that what it's meaning? Mm-hmm. We are seeking the municipality's crucial response, not only for this year, but for future events as well. So it's kind of a double request there.
Yep. But the motion is for this year only to be reviewed.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Rhino.
Well, I can't support that motion. I do agree with having a review going forward, but I can't support it due to the fact is, as I said, if this motion passes, any other group in this municipality should be able to come in and ask for $4,000 usage of that facility at no charge. And, you know, this is where I'm at. We're making an unlevel playing field by doing this. And every group that came forward, that could end up to be a substantial charge. So, you know, lost a sponsor or whatever. I feel that this group can afford it, and that way it wouldn't, at a reduced rate, and hold true to what was agreed upon before, and that way that we would not be showing any kind of favoritism at all, and it would still be given them at a reduced rate. Thank you.
Counselor Mitchell.
Question through you to staff. If they happen to make a profit at the end of the Tide Fest activities, is that money held in an account for future years going forward, or would they pay back towards the $4,000?
Through the warden, in 2023, the profits were then distributed and given to nonprofit groups throughout the community.
So that's their plan going forward? To distribute to nonprofits again?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Musa.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as Councilor Rhino. And I think before you distribute your fund, you should be able to save aside your venue rental for the next year. I couldn't support it either. Thank you.
Counselor McPhee.
Thank you, Warden. Yes, to basically echo Councilor Rhino's and Moose's point, I don't think I could support this motion. $4,000, it have to be looked at every year, but I think for this year, they're getting a good deal, so we should just stick with it. Thank you.
Counselor Perry.
Thank you, Warden. Kind of going on along the lines as the previous counselors. Typical rate would be $9,000. It's being held at $4,000, so we've kind of, in a way, contributed $5,000 to this event because that's what we would charge any other group. And a July weekend is a prime weekend for rental of that facility for an indoor event. So I believe that is a good faith thing, and it is a good thing the municipality is doing by holding that rate at $4,000. I look at a lot of the other things that are going on throughout the municipality. If we lower this down and give it to them for free, are we going to write checks to Heydays? Are we going to write checks to the Hants North area events that go on? All these nonprofit groups come to us and request funding. And this group, at the time we stopped providing a grant, it was known to us at that time that we were giving them a $10,000 a year grant, and they were then contributing out to the community nonprofits in excess of $10,000 after the event was over. So I like the fact that any excess funds do go to nonprofits in the area. The criteria for that is determined by that organization. There's no input of where it happens. So I believe we should respond back to them, and I can't support the motion because I do believe they are receiving a good deal already, and they might have lost a sponsor, but with everything else going on, I think events are starting to come back and people are starting to get out, and I do believe they'll be profitable because they were profitable when we stopped giving them that money to the point that they were giving away more and more grants every year anyway. So I tend to agree with my fellow councilors, Rhino, Musa, and sorry, McPhee. Thank you. That's all I have.
Counselor Tingley.
Question to staff. The other councilors are making some good points there. Did this organization make a profit last year?
Through the warden, the group did indicate that they were able to provide funds to multiple different groups. I don't know the exact amount, but it was a lengthy list that's listed as part of the memo posted to council chambers.
Okay, that kind of does change the water on the beans a little bit.
So if I may, they did actually provide funding to East Hants Skating Club, CCOA, East Hants Family Resource Center, Milford Rec, Lance Rec, Caring and Sharing Angel Tree Food Bank, Hants North Food Bank, Indian Brook Food Bank, and the Shumalac Food Bank.
Well, knowing that information, I'll withdraw my motion.
Does the seconder agree? All right, so the motion has been withdrawn, so we will be looking for some type of response to this group, council. Counselor Rhino.
I would move that we support the.
Oh, sorry, I've got to get your mic on here. Sorry. There you go.
Thank you. I would move that we support the Tide Fest by honoring the commitment made previously of $4,000 for the venue, previously made by the former staff. Thank you. I so move.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Questions been called? Oh, sorry, Counselor Perry?
Just a question. Question for the mover. As per their request for this year, but future years as well, as highlighted by Councillor Garden Cole, would the intent of this motion be for this year to be reviewed next year, or would it be for $4,000 going forward?
No, for $4,000 for this current year, and then if anybody wanted a discussion on how to go forward with that, they could create a motion at that time, and then we can send it to the proper committee for discussion.
So for this year only?
For this year only.
Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. Motion is passed unanimously. I would say this, I would look at this as a motion of support because I believe this is is an operational manner that staff would have the authority to do, but it's good to have council's endorsement. So that concludes business for decision. And it's now time for the public hearing for Maple Tree Holdings. And I do not have a public hearing script. Okay. I can do it online, John. I just have to find it. Thank you. All right, counselors, this evening we have one item on the public hearing agenda. The purpose of this hearing is for council to hear input from the public prior to making a decision on the proposal. To the members of the public who have chosen to participate this evening, welcome. Please note that council's procedural policy requires that you not cheer, boo, clap, or otherwise disrupt this hearing. Anyone who wants to comment or ask questions will be provided with an opportunity to do so. Tonight, council may approve, reject, or defer its decision on the proposal to a later date. Council approval is required for the proposal to proceed. I will now ask the municipal clerk to outline when the public hearing advertisements were published. Yeah.
Madam Warden, a public hearing notice appeared in the June 12th and 19th editions of the Chronicle Herald. The notices described the proposal, gave the date and time of this public hearing, and indicated that staff reports were available to the public.
Councilors, the public hearing this evening is regarding amendments to the designation and zone of a property in Mount Uniacke. I would now ask the chair of the Planning Advisory Committee to present his report. Councilor Mitchell.
Planning Advisory Committee has considered the proposal on behalf of Municipal Council. The committee has reviewed staff reports, completed their evaluation, and will make a recommendation to council during this hearing. Madam Warden, through you, I would now ask staff to present their final report on the proposal.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Thank you, Madam Warden. So subject property is located along Highway 1 in Mount Uniacke, and you can see it outlined in yellow on the map on the screen. And it's currently zoned regional commercial. Properties surrounding the site along Highway 1 are also zoned regional commercial. The zoning to the rear, the grey colour, is business park zoning. The land is currently vacant, although construction has recently, or clearing has recently started on the land to the property that abuts the Highway 1. Approximately 2.41 hectares in size with approximately 91 metres of frontage. And the property abuts the edge of Andrew Mitchell Drive in the Mount Uniacke Business Park. And you can see that here with my cursor. It's just there. That's the edge of Andrew Mitchell Drive. The proposal is to redesignate and rezone the rear portion of the property to Business Park. The redesignation and rezoning will enable the property owner to construct buildings with a larger footprint than permitted in the regional commercial zone, as the Business Park zone does not limit the footprint of buildings. The site plan submitted with the application suggests 3 buildings with a footprint of 5,165 square metres. They're proposing multi-tenant small-scale units. The 2 rear buildings should be viewed as a concept only, and the front portion of the property has been given site plan approval fairly recently. So the plan shown should be considered as a concept plan only, and this relates specifically to future phase 2 and 3. So the area in grey, that's considered a concept plan. If the application is approved, the developer or any future owner of the land will be able to develop the site in accordance with the land use bylaw regulations, which may or may not match the development shown on the concept plan. So the driveway, the front portion of the lot, which is being maintained with the regional commercial zoning, has recently been given site plan approval for the area identified as phase 1. A concept for future phase 2 and 3 was included on that site plan, but the approved site plan for phase 1 does not give any approval for phase 2 and 3. The site plan approval application was submitted prior to the rezoning application and shows an old concept for phase 2 and 3. I'm just going to highlight what I mean by that. So the site plan approval deals with this portion of the property, and that approval does not give approval for this back portion of the property. Nova Scotia Public Works has given approval for the 2 driveways onto Highway 1 from the phase 1 area. The applicant would need to seek a further approval from Public Works should they decide to link phase 2 and 3 with phase 1, essentially creating a driveway from Andrew Mitchell Drive. So that has not, a driveway connecting the Andrew Mitchell Drive and Highway 1 has not been given approval by Public Works. The applicant has recently provided the following statement regarding a driveway linking phase 1 with 2 and 3. They say that it's now physically impossible for any vehicle to cross over the lot because of the terrain and the presence of 3 wetlands. Maple Tree also reiterates it has no plans or intentions to link these roadways by a connected driveway. So this table on the presentation is just a comparison of the 2 zones under discussion. So the regional commercial zone, which is the lot is currently zoned, allows a maximum commercial floor area of 4,650 meters squared, whereas the business park has no maximum commercial floor area. And just, there is a longer list of land uses that are permitted in each zone, but this is just a very brief comparison of some of the uses that are permitted in either both, one or the other. So staff requested comments from internal departments and external agencies, which included the Municipal Department of Infrastructure and Operations and the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works. And Public Works have responded and have raised no concerns. And the municipal roads and engineering staff provided comments. They have no objection to the proposed rezoning of the property to business park. The applicant will require a road access permit for the driveway with Andrew Mitchell Drive. The applicant will have to explain how they will manage the stormwater drainage at the proposed intersection, and the driveway shall be designed so it's clearly not an extension of Andrew Mitchell Drive. Council's decision on this application is not appealable to the Nova Scotia Utility and Review Board as it involves an amendment to the municipal planning strategy. So as part of the review process for MPS amendments, a public information meeting is required, and that was held on April 2nd, 2024. Notes taken at the PIM have been appended to the staff report. A total of 65 questionnaires were mailed out and 5 have been returned. Copies of those questionnaires have been scanned and made available for, I should say, council. 3 of the responses have no concerns or support the proposal, and 2 questionnaires provided comments with concerns. And here I've just bullet pointed some of the comments that were made. One comment was support proposal as it will help attract customers and more businesses to open within the business park. There's concern about impact to nearby stream from sedimentation resulting from development. A request for more crosswalks for pedestrians. Speed limits on Etta Road should be reduced, and suggestions that a 4-way stop is needed along Highway 1. So staff have completed the review of the proposal. The proposed amendments have been evaluated using all applicable policies in the municipal planning strategy, and staff are recommending approval of the application. And you can see on the diagram on the presentation, it shows the process that has been undertaken with this application, and we're currently at this point, the public hearing, and that's where we are. Thank you, Madam Warden.
Thank you, Rachel. Does any member of council have questions for staff? Councillor Musa.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Rachel, can you go to the site plan, please? Okay, so for the red part, it's already approved.
Correct. That's got site plan approval, yes.
And for the upper part, it could be changed. It
Yes.
could be. So, is there any way that any car or vehicle, without being a road or as a driveway, is there any way they could go to Highway 1 from the upper part, from the industrial part, if we approved it?
There'll be, unless they seek approval from Nova Scotia Public Works, there'll be no driveway link in that. I mean, if it could be rough, I don't know if you could get a vehicle over there, but they would need to have a driveway really to allow that ability for vehicles to pass between Andrew Mitchell Drive and Highway 1, but there's no approval for that right now. And there's no intent of the applicant to provide that driveway.
Well, intent could change. The applicant could sell the property, so we lose control over everything.
Yeah.
And dealing with Nova Scotia Department of Transportation, we've had almost 20 accidents every year at the Irving, and they said it's normal, they don't need to do anything about it. So I don't think I can, if there's 1% that the vehicle can cross from the top part to the Highway 1 without having a stop sign, like just the driveway like the Irving, I will never support that. Thank you.
Madam Warden, could I just address that comment just quickly? So the plan is not to have a driveway, and regardless of the rezoning and the redesignation, if this property owner was to develop the land in accordance with the regional commercial zone, it doesn't change that ability to apply for a driveway. This rezoning and redesignation, it just really just allows them to have a larger footprint of building. The question of the driveway is no different between the current zoning and the proposed zoning. Essentially, they could seek approval for that driveway regardless of what the zone is. And we would have no control over that if Public Works gave approval for that.
Yeah, that's my point. We don't have no problem. But everyone here knows that I'm 100% for development, but I'm 100% for safe development too. And we have bad experience at the Irving, and that's why I'm hesitant about this one. But is there any other avenue that they could go for development agreement as instead of rezoning for more footprint area? We did that before, so.
No, this is really the only avenue for them to develop with a larger buildings is the rezoning to business park.
I think we did approve one in Lakeland for more footprint, and it came as a development agreement for council to approve.
Through you, Madam Warner. So that the development agreements, there are some zones that allow you to go beyond the what's permitted in the zone by development agreement, but this is the regional commercial zone, and that's the limit of the size of buildings.
So you're not allowed to do any development agreement on that.
I'd just like to make sure that everyone is clear, as Rachel has said, that if we were to deny this rezoning, that the applicant has the same right to apply for the driveway or whatever to go through today as he would if the rezoning were approved. The passing the rezoning will not give him anything he doesn't already have, is my understanding.
Yeah, but my understanding is adding another 4,000 square meter in the back, that's gonna create more vehicle to go through that already. I know, I understand everything approved for the first building is approved already. We cannot change it. But to add another 2 buildings on the same driveway, I will never agree on that. Like it's not safe. I know the area. I know there's 80 speed on that highway, and with my experience over there, with the Irving, with the amount of calls we have, I don't think it's safe to do that. Unless there is something concrete that say that there is no connection whatsoever, not even one car escaped from the top to the bottom, I'm 100% for it. But if there's nothing concrete in that, in this, and we have no control over it, I don't agree on that. Thank you.
Councilor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Through you to staff. Staff, there's probably no way to give me a correct answer on this, but do you feel Maple Tree Holdings in this rezoning is going to be the actual people that will build the, as the plan has been put forth?
Staff would not have any ability to predict that, Counselor. I don't think we can ask them to guess on what a developer plans to do.
Well, we should be able to
I'm
ask
ruling
that.
that out of order. That's not a fair question for staff. Counselor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. So I'm just trying to get where the counselor of the area is coming from. So all the traffic coming out of the approved one or potentially approved one down the road would go out where? Out an already existing exit?
So are we talking about, sorry, through you, Madam Warden, this approval, they have two driveways. Andrew Mitchell Drive, so this part of the property, the area that's proposed to rezone, will come through the business park and exit via the two existing roads onto Highway 1. So they would drive traffic through the existing Mount Uniacke Business Park.
Okay. And this one has two driveways out onto the,
Onto Highway 1, just there. One there and one there.
okay, so I didn't realize. Okay, so, and Counselor Musa's concern, I know the concerns because I've heard them often on the number one, the danger of it and the speed. So this red development at the bottom is going to have two driveways going out onto that road?
Through you, Madam Warden, that's correct. And Nova Scotia Public Works has given approval for those two driveways.
Well, yes, I believe that. Have we ever, I know this is a bone of contention with the traffic on this road. Has the counselor of the area or has anyone ever written a letter to Department of Works, maybe it wouldn't help, requesting that they stop approving access to that road in the state that it's in now? Or do they not acknowledge that there are issues on that road? I don't know who would answer that.
Okay, we've got Jesse. I'm going to go to Jesse.
Through you, Madam Warden, I'll speak to the letters that have been sent. So that type of detail and direction, no. What has been sent to the province with respect to Highway 1 has been advocacy letters on speed reviews, the transitions in front of the school zone in particular, to have it lowered, and in some areas look at reductions to 60. And it's been requests to review the speed in the area, which was completed and no changes were made. That said, I think that is the continued approach. It's the challenge with that stretch of road is it's set up, it's straight runs, it's set up to be a highway, and so it just encourages speed. So anything you add to it, regardless of what the speed limit is, it creates a challenging scenario. So that's what we have done as staff through direction from council has been advocacy with respect to speed limits, but there has been no change.
Thank you, Jesse. Anything else, Counselor?
No, nothing else from me at this point.
Does any other member of council have questions or comments? Counselor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Yeah, and just to elaborate on Jesse's comments, yeah, we've advocated for a review of the intersection coming off of the 101 by the Irving. The biggest concern for residents, last weekend at the fair, I was approached by a number of residents living in the areas with massive complexes and massive development or business parks being fully developed out. They don't want a through there. There's already two exits onto the number one from the business park, and those exits have their own challenges. Large trucks have to go across both lanes to exit because the entrances and exits appear to be a little too small as for what probably should be there, and those are being, I can be corrected if I'm wrong, they're also being reviewed right now to see what changes need to be made there. It is a racetrack, and the speed limit says one thing, but what people drive is another. And that's something that working with the RCMP for enforcement is the only thing really that we have as recourse. I welcome pretty much all development into Mount Uniacke, the providing the services and and stuff, and echo what Councillor Musa says, you know. The more development that comes, that provides services for the residents, that can lower commutes to where they need to get things, the better. In this proposal and everything that the proponent has said, that they don't plan on doing that. But the main thing tonight that got me is it doesn't matter what they say, because at the end of the day, we don't have the right to restrict that. It's down to Department of Public Works. So no matter what we do, Department of Public Works can approve that link from an addition driveway onto the existing exit. So it's very difficult. So in this situation, I would tend to go with what was stated, that, you know, it's not going to happen. There is some pretty big depressions there. If you go out and look at the site, they had to build up one area and there's pretty big holes in behind. Not saying that it's not possible to do, you can always fill in anything, but you're not going to just drive a car through there unless development or something is done to enable it, which then would require the Department of Public Works. And I hope at that time they would see the possible errors that would cause. My only concern with this, and I brought it up at the public information meeting, is the entrance and exit out of both driveways. Is there a possibility that you could bring up the intersection and show this on the map? Because that really highlights the concerns that Councillor Musa has. Because this, so if you see there to the right, Eder Road. So Eder Road is a main thoroughfare where all the development back in Councillor Musa's district is coming. There's 3 approved subdivisions already, as well as a possible expansion of cottage country that I believe is coming later on. So you're seeing a large increased amount of traffic come out there. The proponent's first driveway is directly across from there, almost making like a 4-way. I requested at the public information meeting if it was possible to make that an in-entrance only and the outgoing one being an out only. And I was told at that time that would be something that could be done to aid in public safety. We don't have it, it's already approved, so there's no development agreement, there's nothing else, but that was something that was told to me at the time, that was something that could absolutely be done to help mitigate some of the concerns, and have to wait and see. But that is something that's there. But the bigger concern is we have a couple of major developments happening in that park that are going to employ quite a few people, and people will go to the point of least resistance. And if they come out at that, some people, like right now, the problem we have in our community is at the Irving, their driveway comes right out to where the off-ramp is, and it looks like a 4-way stop, and those cars have no right-of-way to pull out until every vehicle's gone, and they constantly pull out, and there's constantly accidents. And they can't change it because then the fuel trucks can't get in to drop the fuel off and turn, because they can't make the other turn because the on-ramp onto the highway doesn't meet the criteria for a truck of that size to make the turn onto the highway. So what really needs to happen there is, which has nothing to do with this application, is probably a traffic circle or something, but the province is still reviewing all this. So that is the history of the concerns of the community. The 2 proposed, the site approved and the proposed approved does not show them linked. And I would never want to see them linked in any way, because that would be something that would be detrimental. But there's nothing we can do at any point to stop that, regardless of whether we rezone it or not. So I would rather see the business park side be developed to more align with the businesses and create more space in the business park, because our business park is always looking for more land, and more businesses are on waiting lists to get positions there. I would just hope at that time, when they come for site approval for that we would be able to restrict that on our site approval side from staff, not to allow that link to happen. Is that possible?
Through you, Madam Warden. So the business park zone doesn't require site plan approval. That's one of the differences. But regardless, if site plan approval was required or not, if Public Works gave their approval, we would have no ability to say no.
That's what I thought. So, yeah, it's just something that, you know, the concerns are well known and well out there. Thank you.
Counselor Musa.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I just want to make sure everybody knows that I don't want to be the bad guy here. I would like to have a solution for that not to happen, the connection. So I'm going to ask staff, is there any way we could ask for like a 3 feet pedestrian that we could control over that on the edge of the two properties? Like a 3 feet that we could control, like pedestrian lane or something for future connection, let's see, whatever. Is there possible, or a fence or something? Like, I love the concept. I love the business. I love everything, but it's scary for me. I will never put my name on it as it is now because it's very dangerous. And I hope the owners understand where I'm coming from, because I've been there for 30 years and it's very dangerous up there. So if there any way we could like, I know we don't have to do the decision today. So is there any way we could ask for like same with those development here we have a pedestrian lane for 3 feet or something. We're not going to use it, but we will have control over what happened over it. This way we can stop that connection if it's going to happen.
Through you, Madam Warden, this is private land. We can't negotiate, well, we can't require the developer to provide any pedestrian walkway or anything that might restrict that.
It doesn't have to be built on anything. We just have, I just want something to be able to enable the municipality to have control over that 3 foot buffer between the two properties. This way, no connection could be happening. I don't know if that's one of the things I thought about to make it happen, but it's up to council anyway. That's one of my thoughts. Thank
I'm
you.
going to let John weigh in on this.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Yeah, outside of a development agreement, you can't really negotiate those things. So, you know, your decision tonight is very black and white. It's either you approve the rezoning or you don't.
That's why I said
without conditions.
we can delay this until if the applicant is happy with what I'm like. I don't know how. For me, I cannot approve it just like that. Thank you. We're gonna hear from the applicant anyway, so.
Does any other counselor have any questions? Seeing none, I would now ask if the applicant has any comments or would like to make a presentation.
Good evening. Warden Ralston, PAC Chair Mitchell, counselors, staff, and people that are online. My name's Brad Hodgins. I've been asked to speak for Maple Tree Holdings to see what can be communicated to address any issues that pop up in this public hearing. The first, I have some comments. The first comment is that Maple Tree Holdings is a well-established, good reputation for commercial and residential development, primarily in HRM, but they also have holdings throughout Atlantic Canada. They are going to be the developers of the property, both in the proposed business park designation, and as we all know, the phase one in the regional commercial. President Ken Sidu, who's with me, he sees a growing market for commercial development in Mount Uniacke, for development of small units, 1,200 square feet units, multi-tenant, in multi-tenant mall buildings within or next to the business park. The original intention was to be located in the business park, but he was too late. The business park didn't have anything available in terms of vacant property. Your business park is certainly successful. It needs to be expanded. The rezoning to business park for the western portion of the lot has frontage on Andrew Mitchell Drive, which we've already described. If the BP zoning is approved, Maple Tree Holdings will be paying its share of the cost of road construction levied on it to connect to Andrew Mitchell Drive and to enable the proceeding of those two future buildings. They also have to get a permit, obviously, to connect, and that's another process, and that'll go through the municipal unit. The key is this development will offer small businesses the option of locating in scalable storefront units within the business park setting and taking advantage of the Uniac Park brand. This kind of development doesn't seem to be available in the local area. It seems to be a configuration that will satisfy a demand. There's a marketing advantage for being in the business park, and that is part of the intention of and the rationale behind the application. For Maple Tree Holdings, the business park zone is more flexible in its requirements, meaning it's more responsive to business needs. It allows for a larger building footprint than allowed under the RC zone. The current Phase 2 and Phase 3 proposal exceeds those limits for the property. Possible tenants for these two proposed buildings, there's quite a range. It could include outlets for business and community services like insurance, real estate, accounting, catering, rentals, trades, suppliers, HVAC, plumbing and electrical contractors, sales, and retail and healthcare. No restaurants or fast food outlets are encouraged at all or contemplated in that zone. At the April 2nd Mountain Uniac Fire Hall, at the public information meeting, there was a lot of concern about traffic on Highway 1. There was a lot of concern about, or questions about whether or not the western part of the lot would be connected by a driveway to the front portion. I can categorically represent the President's statement that in fact there will not be connecting driveway between the two portions of the lot. First of all, the environmental approvals for the proposed business park zone does not contemplate, it has a stormwater management plan. It does not contemplate that kind of connecting driveway. We have for the front of the lot, we've just gone through a site plan approval process that has notations right on the document and it's part of the approval that in fact there will not be a connecting driveway between the two portions of the lot. And in fact, there has been built in a 3 meter buffer between the front RC zone and the proposed BP zone portions of the lot. And of course, it's already been stated that Nova Scotia Public Works has approved the access for the front Highway 1 fronting portion of the lot. That approval is based on those two driveways that reflect the capacity of the one building. If it was otherwise, if it in fact was going to have a more intensive use, then in fact I don't think that approval would have been forthcoming. There's also at the public information meeting, there were statements to the effect that it would be great if the applicant would encourage local suppliers and also local jobs, and that is in fact what has happened in this Phase 1. Maple Leaf Holdings has been using Mount Uniac Quarry gravel. The concrete is from the business park. The lumber is from East Hants, it's from Enfield, and there are other examples of that. This is a tendency or a preference that the developer has started, and he's going to continue that. if the BP zone is approved, there'll be more jobs and more local supply chain relationships. So that's pretty well it. We can answer questions from council or from the public. My background is in planning and economic development, and I think this is this is a pretty good project. And it's really, of course, the outcome of that is up to council. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. I will now open the floor for comments and questions from the public. If you are viewing the YouTube live stream, you may use the YouTube chat feature, which is being monitored. First, does anyone attending in person have any questions or comments? Does any member of the public have any questions or comments through the live chat or on the YouTube channel, the YouTube live stream? Julianne tells me no, there are none. Does any member of staff have any final comments? So I would now ask the chair of the Planning Advisory Committee to present his committee's recommendation.
Planning Advisory Committee recommends the council give second reading and approve the proposal from Maple Tree Holdings to change the designation and zone of a portion of property identified PID 45426301 for regional commercial RC to business park. As chair of PAC, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Head. Are there any final questions or comments from municipal councillors? Councillor Musa.
Can I ask the applicant a question, or too late?
The applicant has no objection, I'll allow it. Do you have any objection to Councillor Musa asking a question? Okay, go ahead, Councillor.
So my first question, where's the septic field is gonna be? The septic field. Septic field.
He's asking the location of the septic field.
In the back of the building? And you know if it's taken the whole area, or you know what area is taken, like in behind? I know that.
The left-hand side, the applicant has replied that it's,
Yeah, but that could be a good thing if it's taken probably most of the area in the back. That would be amazing. So you know the dimension, like how big it, like? No, it's not big.
anything further, Councillor Musa?
No, thank you.
Does any other councillor have any comments or questions?
Question.
Question has been called. And the motion is passed by a vote of 9-1, with Councillor Musa voting nay. That concludes tonight's public hearing, and I would thank everyone for attending. We will now move into our committee reports. The first report being the Audit Committee report. Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Warden. The committee held its regular meeting this evening on June 26, 2024. The following motions are coming forward as a result of that meeting. Financial statements for the 2023-2024 Municipal Auditor, 2024-2025. The committee received a presentation from Angus Rawlings, CPA, and Jeremy Malice, CPA, CA, from Deloitte, summarizing what was audited in the fiscal year, which included the consolidated financial statements of the Lloyd E. Matheson Center recoverable expenses and the water utility statements for the UARB. The presentation of the 2024 audit results was also included. The Audit Committee recommends to council adopt the March 31st, 2024 financial statements as presented by Deloitte at the June 26, 2024 Audit Committee meeting, and that Deloitte LLP be appointed as the municipal auditor for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? The question has been called. One more person needs to vote. And the motion is passed unanimously.
Membership appointment 2024-2025. As per section 44 of the MGA, the Audit Committee recommends to council that council appoints the membership of the Audit Committee for the 2024-2025 be comprised of the warden, the chair of Corporate Residential Services Committee, and 2 additional councillors, and the public matter Dave McCusker. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on the motion? The question's been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. Anything further, Councillor Perry, from the Audit Committee?
As chair of the committee, I move the adoption of this report.
The seconder, seconded by Councillor Tingley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. Next, we'll go to the Fire Advisory Committee. Deputy Warden Green chairs that committee. Who is the Deputy Vice Chair? Councillor Mitchell. Over to you.
The committee held its regular meeting on June 13, 2024. The following motions coming forward as a result of that meeting. Fire Department re-registration. Registration forms have been received from all departments serving East Hants, with the exception of Brooklyn. All departments are compliant with requirements. The Director of Corporate Services noted that due to the nature of the volunteer service, all departments indicate that there are times when fewer members are available to respond to a call. He also noted that a few departments do not provide medical emergency response and reminded the committee that medical response is a provincial responsibility. The fire service supports this service when able to. Community members have no concerns about any of the registrations. The Fire Advisory Committee recommends to council that council approve the annual registration of all fire departments with the exception of Brooklyn serving East Hants, and that the Fire Advisory Committee will review the Brooklyn application and forward a recommendation to council at a later date. As Vice Chair of the committee, I so move.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Question's been called. And the motion is passed unanimously by those present in the room at this time. Back to you, Councilor
As Vice
Mitchell.
Chair of the committee, I move the adoption of this report.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion has carried. Next would be the nominating committee report, which is me, so I will turn the chair over to the Deputy Warden. Yes, sorry.
Councilor.
Councilor Mitchell, who is sitting in as Chair of Corporate Residential Services for the Deputy Warden this evening. So I'll turn the chair over to him.
Go ahead, Ward.
The nominating committee considered applications, including an interview for public membership of the Police Advisory Committee as a result of a resignation. The following motion is coming forward as a result of that review. The recruitment efforts to fill the final vacancy for a public member on the Police Advisory Committee was successful. The nominating committee recommends to council that council appoint Joanne Pelly as a public member of the Police Advisory Committee with a 3-year term ending April 30th, 2027. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Question's been called. We'll go to the vote. And the motion has passed unanimously.
As chair of the committee, I move the adoption of this report.
All those in favor? Aye. Warden, I turn the table back over to you, chair back over to you.
Thank you. We will now go to Corporate and Residential Services Committee report. To you, Counselor Mitchell. Oh, sorry, Counselor Perry.
The committee held its regular meeting on June 18th, 2024 in council chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result of those meetings. The 2024 year-end memo. Part of the year-end preparations for audit is the analysis of the municipality of East Hants operating and capital funds. Several year-end entries are required to prepare the financial statements. These are unpredictable and/or the exact amounts are unknown at budget time. The year-end report listed those entries for council information and approval. On the capital side, funding source amounts do not require adjustments for any projects. All adjustments being recommended are either unavoidable or prudent to make and can be considered by council to be unsubstantiated in nature. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends to council approve the year-end adjustments to the operating funds as presented in the 2023-2024 year-end adjustments report dated 12 June 2024 and presented on June 18, 2024, be accepted and approved. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Moved and seconded, and I would just note that the typo in the date will be corrected to reflect what Counselor Perry has read as 2024, not 2014. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. And the motion is passed unanimously.
Special Reserves Policy. As council creates new reserves and depletes others, the appendix to the Special Reserve Policy requires updates. Staff forward brought forward a report to amend the Special Reserve Policy for council consideration. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends that council approves the amendments to the Special Reserve Policy as attached to the June 18th, 2024 Executive Committee agenda. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Head. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously by those present in the room.
Fire Service Funding Policy. The Poly Analyst presented a report outlining housekeeping updates for Fire Service Funding Policy. The Corporate Residential Service Committee recommends that council approve the Fire Service Funding Policy as attached to the Executive Committee agenda dated 18 June 2024. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Musa. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously by those present in the room.
Low Carbon Communities Grant Program. The Nova Scotia Department of Natural Resources and Renewables is offering the Low Carbon Communities Grant Program for communities projects in Nova Scotia that support low carbon solutions in the buildings, electricity, and transportation sectors. The application process for the LLC opened on May 22nd, 2024. Expressive interest is due on June 24th, 2024, and requires council's endorsement. Staff recommended submitting the application for solar feasibility assessment on select municipal facilities. The Corporate Residential Services Committee recommends that council support a submission to the Low Carbon Communities Grant Program for solar feasibility assessment on select municipal facilities with a total project budget up to a maximum of $100,000 to be funded by a municipal contribution up to a maximum of $25,000 in the 2024-2025 budget, funded by Sustainability Program Reserve contingent on successful grant funding. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question has been called. The motion is passed unanimously. Back to you, Council.
Fire area rates. Following a review of an in-camera report and staff recommendation regarding fire area rates, the Corporate Residential Services Committee made the following recommendation. They moved that Corporate and Residential Service Committee recommend to Council that fire area rates negatively impacted by the 2024 fire area rate review be subsidized through the general rate contingency reserves with notification going to the departments affected by the adjustments. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question has been called. The motion is passed unanimously.
As chair of the committee, I move the adoption of this report.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Contrary? Motion is carried. Next, we'll go to Parks, Rec, and Culture. Counselor Rhino, over to you.
Thank you, Madam Warden. The committee held its regular meeting June 18th, 2024 in council chambers. The following motions is coming forward as a result of that meeting. District Recreation Fund applications, intake number 2 for 2024. This report brings forward District Recreation Fund's recommendations for council's consideration. The second intake of the DRF closed April 30th, 2024. 5 applications have been reviewed and are being brought forward for consideration. Additionally, a change of scope has come in from an organization that was awarded funding earlier in the year. Council may wish to approve funding from multiple districts where projects benefit facilities and user groups that service a larger area of the municipality. This report notes under each project where other districts have contributed to previous years. So from all that, the Parks and Recreation Committee recommend that council direct staff to prepare a report with respect to the current policies on funding playground development and suggestion for improvement. As chair of the committee, I do so move.
Seconded by Counselor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question has been called. Motion is passed unanimously. Back to you, Counselor Rhino.
The Parks, Recreation, and Culture Committee recommend that council approve District Recreation Funds 2024-2025 intake number 2 as follows. Quarter minor ball. From District 1, $3,333. From District 2, $3,333. From District 7, $3,333. And from District 10, $8,814. For a total of $18,814. Riverview United Church, from District 1, $5,000. From District 2, $10,000. From District 7, $5,000. For a total of $20,000. Milford Recreation Association, from District 2, $6,313. From District 3, $6,313. And from District 7, $6,313, for a total of $18,940. Next project, Uniac Legion. From District 8, $2,694. From District 9, $2,694, for a total of $5,388. From the Enfield RFC, from District 2, $7,000. From District 1, $8,000, and from District 10, $15,000, for a total of $30,000. And that council approve removing the first intake funding for quarter minor ball under motion C-2493 and approve funding as part of the second intake as included above. As chair of the committee, I do so move.
Seconded by Counselor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously.
As chair of the committee, I move the adoption of this report.
Well, Counselor Hebb had asked to, is it related to Parks, Rec, and Culture? Okay.
I would like to say on behalf of people of District 3, I'd like to thank the councilors for District 2 and District 7 for supporting the projects that were presented. Thank you.
Okay. The motion on the floor is to adopt the report. All those in favor? Contrary? Motion is carried. Okay, councilors. We will now go to Infrastructure and Operations, Counselor Garden Cole.
The committee held its regular meeting on June 18, 2024 in council chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result of the meeting. First item, GFL West Hants landfill sewage cutoff. The Director of Infrastructure and Operations provided a verbal update with respect to concerns of septic haulers as a result of the GFL site temporary closure. The Infrastructure and Operations Committee recommends that Council direct staff to prepare a report in regards to handling sewage from rural areas of the municipality and what options could be in the future. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question has been called. Motion is passed unanimously.
Item number 2, Old Enfield Road, Highway 102 connectivity. Following review of an in-camera report and staff recommendation, the Infrastructure and Operations Committee regarding correspondence to the province regarding the Old Enfield Road overpass. The Infrastructure and Operations Committee recommends that Council send a letter to the province advocating that any future replacement of the Old Enfield Road overpass crossing Highway 102 incorporates on and off-ramp connectivity to support housing and population growth for Nova Scotia, and that the province actively seeks out design consideration from the municipality of East Hants in the long-term planning of that asset. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Head. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question has been called. Motion has passed unanimously.
As Chair of the Committee, I move the adoption of this report.
Seconded by Counselor Head. All those in favor? Contrary, motion is carried. We will now go to Planning Advisory Committee. Counselor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. The committee held its regular meeting on June 18, 2024 in council chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result of that meeting. First item, PLN 010, James Kerr Development in Milford Groundwater Overlay Area, initial report. James Kerr has submitted an application for a new subdivision in Milford, which is being considered through a development agreement application. Planning Advisory Committee recommend to council that council give initial consideration to enter into a development agreement on property identified as PID 45092749 and authorize staff to schedule a public hearing. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question has been called. Motion has passed unanimously.
PLN 24-004, RYC Property Limited, application, MPS and LUB mapping amendments. The municipality has received an application for RYC Property Limited to change the land use designation and zone for property located on Havenwood Drive, Shubenacadie, to enable the extension of Havenwood Drive and for the development of 47 semi-detached dwellings. Planning Advisory Committee recommends to council that council give first reading to the application from RYC Property Limited to amend the MPS and LUB by changing the land use designation of PID 445097227 to establish residential neighborhood ER designation and rezone the same lands to 2 dwelling units residential R2 zone and authorize staff to schedule a public hearing. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Musa. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. The motion is passed unanimously.
PLN 24-001, Maple Tree Holdings, redesignation and rezoning, and that was dealt with this evening during the public hearing. PLN 24-005, Riverstone 214 Limited, Development Agreement Amendment. The municipality has received an application from Riverstone 214 Limited to amend an existing development agreement which was approved by council in April 2020. The approved development agreement was for a mixed-use regional commercial development. The applicant is requesting to move the required commercial element to a different building and to enable short-term rental be considered commercial. Planning Advisory Committee recommends to council that council refuse the application by Riverstone 214 Limited to amend an existing development agreement on lands within the Elmsdale Regional Commercial RC Zone designation and zone. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Counselor Tingley. Counselor Musa.
Thank you, Madam Warden. On Monday, we had the housing, actually the housing strategy committee meeting, and I'd like to share with you that Andrew Bowen from Clayton, he was talking to us how they are not going ahead with their development in Elmsdale here in lands because it doesn't make any. It's not profitable for them with the cost of construction. So I just like to share this with you because it might be for the same reason that the developer is asking for this. And I know Councilor Garden Cole and Councilor McPhee were in the room, and I think it's serious to get fund for something that you cannot make money on. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question has been called. And the motion has passed by a vote of 8-2, with Councilor Hebb and Councilor Musa voting nay.
UNIAC Secondary Planning Strategy, Transportation. As part of the UNIAC Secondary Planning Strategy, planning staff have completed a review of transportation issues and opportunities in the UNIAC area. This report includes recommendations for Planning Advisory Committee's consideration. Planning Advisory Committee recommends to council that council authorize staff to include the recommendations outlined in the UNIAC SPS Transportation Report in the draft UNIAC Secondary Planning Strategy Report, with the amendment that item number 4 be removed from the recommendation from the draft report and highlighting the desire for rapid transportation and not light rail. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question has been called. Motion is passed unanimously.
UNIAC Secondary Planning Strategy, Housing. As part of the UNIAC Secondary Planning Strategy, planning staff have completed a review of the housing and opportunities for densification in the UNIAC area. This report includes recommendations for Planning Advisory Committee's consideration. Planning Advisory Committee recommends to council that council authorize staff to include the recommendations outlined in the UNIAC SPS Housing Report in the draft UNIAC Secondary Planning Strategy Report, and that staff explore expanding the village core in Mount Uniac from Exit 3 to Uniac Estates. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councilor Musa. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously.
As chair of the committee, I move the adoption of this report.
Seconded by Councilor Hebb. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion has carried. We will now go to first reading of bylaw A-200, the Water Supply and On-Site Sewage Disposal System Upgrade Lending Program bylaw. Councilor Perry, is this you?
At the June 21st reading bylaw, A20 Water Supply and On-Site Sewage Disposal System Upgrade Lending Program Bylaw. At the June 2024 Executive Committee meeting, staff prepared a report regarding the creation of a well and septic upgrade loan program. A copy of that report and draft bylaw were attached to the Executive Committee agenda dated 18 June 2024. Following discussion and input from the committee, a draft bylaw was updated with a new definition for household income, and the updated version is attached. The Corporate and Residential Service Committee recommends the first reading. Move that council give first reading to bylaw A200 Water Supply and On-Site Sewage Disposal System Upgrade Lending Program bylaw. As chair of the committee,
Seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on the motion? The question's been called. Councillor Garden Cole had to be excused. Yes. Motion is passed unanimously. Okay. Next is the warden's report.
first reading to bylaw.
Oh, sorry, I was gonna skip the next first reading. First reading of bylaw IO 300-I, an amendment to bylaw IO 300 sewer bylaw. And that would be Councillor Garden Cole, who is the Vice Chair of Infrastructure and Operations. Carl, we'll say it's you. Councillor McPhee will make this motion in Councillor Garden Cole's absence.
Okay, first reading, bylaw 10-300-1, an amendment to bylaw IO-300 sewer bylaw. At the June 2024 Executive Committee meeting, staff presented a report outlining the responsibilities of residents and the municipality for the installation and maintenance of the municipal sewer system. The bylaw is being updated to modernize it and more accurately reflect current practice. A copy of the report and draft bylaw were attached to the Executive Committee agenda dated June 18th, 2024. The Infrastructure and Operations Committee recommends first reading. Move that council give first reading to bylaw IO-300-1, an amendment to bylaw IO-300 sewer bylaw. As chair of the committee, I so move. Vice chair.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. Next on the agenda is the warden's report. So I'll turn the chair over to you, Councillor Perry.
Go ahead, Madam Warden.
Okay, June has been a busy month. From June 5th to 10th, I attended with several other councillors in the CAO, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Conference in Calgary. While we were there, we were right smack dab in the middle of the Calgary water emergency, which is ongoing as we speak. And I would just comment that in her closing remarks, the mayor of Calgary remarked that if she was going to have a conference of 3,100 people there when the major main feeder water line broke in her city, she wouldn't want it to be anybody else but municipal people because they would understand. It was a very interesting a very interesting conference. A lot of discussion about harassment and civility in public office. It's everywhere in the country, it appears, and it's certainly very prevalent. I'm not going to try and touch on all of the program offerings. They were interesting. I will share that I signed up for one of the study tours, which was described in the brochure as a boat ride on the Bow River, where we would discuss stormwater management and you know, things that the river contributed to. Imagine my surprise when I arrived on scene to see a large blown up type raft with paddles. But I was very enjoying, it was educational, and I did enjoy it. Counselor Tingley was on the same study tour, and I just tried to match the strokes of the paddle to what he seemed to be doing, and hoped he knew what he was doing and we didn't drown, so. Anyway, we were joined by the political representatives of all parties. In particular, the Prime Minister came directly from Normandy, and along with his usual annual address to the committee, he opened the floor to questions from the floor, which was something quite new. And when that was announced that that was going to happen, I have never seen a lineup and a crush to get into a room at a conference as I did then. So overall, I think FCM, it was certainly an interesting and a very good conference, the largest registration ever for an FCM conference. So then after my return on June 13th, I had a phone call with Karen Cooling from CCRCE. This was at her request. It was after she received our letter about the Douglas Wood bus stop in Mount Uniacke. We were unsuccessful in convincing them to reinstate that bus stop. She did tell me that they had had reports of some near misses and that it was felt to be a safety issue and that they weren't considering it. But in discussion, I also, when I commented that having the children walk on the non-existent shoulder of the South Rawdon Road and that might not be any safer, she told me that it was her understanding, or their understanding, that the children weren't traveling that way. They were following a path, upon which I inquired as to the status and the state and the maintenance of the path, and they're going to look into that and get back to me. So I don't know if that path is level, if it's maintained in the wintertime, if it's on private property or public, I don't know. So I'm sure their staff will look into that, and I certainly reiterated concerns that we have had here at this council before around busing and things of that nature. And at the end of the discussion, I did tell her that there would be a letter coming forward from our council, had passed to send a letter of which she would have a copy, asking the provincial government to reinstate elected school boards because the current system is not working for us. June 20th to 22nd, the CAO and I attended the Atlantic Mayors Congress in Summerside. Fascinating conference. Very good to network with folks from across Atlantic Canada. Sustainability is a big thing. Housing, of course, is a top factor. Climate change, the discussions and the sessions were very good. We heard from the Federal Minister of Housing. We had the Federal Minister who's responsible for ACOA present, and we had 3 out of 4 of the Atlantic ministers responsible for housing in attendance at that conference. So that I thought was quite good. Just as a note, the city of Summerside, a shout out to them. They are getting, I think, in my opinion, a lot of things right. They have 80 acres of solar panels that they own, 46,000 double-sided solar panels. Double-sided because in the wintertime the sun reflects off the snow. And it was, to see it, it was quite amazing. They also own themselves some wind turbines. Now, they own their own electric utility, so it's a little bit, I think, easier for them to establish these things and feed into the grid. But Summerside is indeed a very green city and community. So that, as I said, it was a very well put on and a very good conference. My next page here. I guess I hit it all without even reading my notes about that conference. I was on along with Councillor McPhee and Adam on an NSFM call earlier this evening concerning, well, concerning the grid and different things. Nova Scotia Power representatives were there. I don't think there's any wonderful resolution to anything coming from that, but Nova Scotia Power is getting back to Councillor McPhee on a question he had, so we'll wait for the results of that. And just in closing, I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate all the graduates this evening. Maybe not all graduations are taking place this evening. The one at Hants North is, but I'd just like to take the opportunity to congratulate the graduating classes around East Hants. A job well done. Onward to the next stages of your life, and wish you all the best. And I would also like to take the opportunity to wish everyone a safe and happy Canada Day in the upcoming weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Warden. Warden's report complete. Is there any questions for the Warden on her report? Seeing no questions, I'll turn the chair back over to you, Warden.
Thank you. We'll now go to business from councillors, and I'm going to start, I never remember where I started. Councillor Mitchell's pointing to both ends, which doesn't help me at all. I started with Councillor Morino last time. I'll start with Councillor Tingley this evening.
Thank you. I'm just going to start with a motion. I had an email from a resident in Lance that I've already shared with council. This person lives on approximately 6 acres, and they want to install a small manufactured prestige housing unit on their property. Measures approximately 16 by 52, 832 square feet. It's a 2-bedroom. I understand our current zoning or bylaws do not allow this, but in looking at the municipal housing working group that we have, I get the impression that we're trying to get there. I don't know what can be done to help this person, but after consulting with staff, I've come up with the following motion that I'd like to make here tonight. I'd like to move that council direct staff to review land use regulations that are preventing small manufactured housing units from being used as accessory dwellings units.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any? Councillor Rhino?
I guess my question through you to staff, why would not, what prohibits this from going to happening now? Could you fill me in and summarize that, please?
1 second there, John.
Thank you, Madam Warden. The problem is that right now, it doesn't matter how small it is, these manufactured housing units are falling under a current definition for mobile homes or mini homes. That's the problem, and they're not permitted in the serviced areas as an accessory dwelling unit.
Just a sec, Councillor.
Not right now, no.
Okay, so this is what we have to look at to, okay, fine, thank you.
Councillor Head?
Yes, Warden, through you to staff, is this something we're looking into to change this, or is just a one-off for this property only?
Just 1 second.
Through you, Madam Warden, no, this would be not just for this property, this would be a change to the policy. Yeah.
Any further questions or discussion? Anything to add, Councillor? Oh, sorry, Councillor Eisner.
I just.
Councillor Eisner.
Oh, Eisner, okay.
What's the square footage of this, John? What's the square footage?
I believe it was 832
32.
square feet, Council.
832. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Tingley, any final remarks?
The only remarks I'd like to make is just reading the minutes from the municipal housing group. It looks like we're questioning why these are banned now and looking for ways to be able to allow them. So I'm just asking to look into seeing what we can do about it.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. The motion is to have staff,
You want me to read it again?
yes, if you would,
I
Council.
move that council direct staff to receive land use, or review land use regulations that are preventing small manufactured housing units from being used as accessory dwelling units.
And the motion is passed unanimously. Anything else, Counselor Tingley?
It was a busy month, but that's it for tonight.
Thank you. Counselor Musa?
Thank you, Madam Warden. Yeah, I also attended FCM with my fellow councilors, and if Councilor Rhino and Warden think they have been for a long time on council, I met a councilor or a mayor from Saskatchewan. He ran his first election when he was out of high school, and he's 72, and he's still going to run again. So I know that will make your day, Councilor Rhino. And I also, we met a lot of interesting people down there, like some mayor from somewhere in Ontario, I don't remember, and he told me about those sea containers, like that they make them, they call them communal services, and they're good, I think. I don't remember if he told me for 15 or 50 units, and they're selling them all over the place. And there's a company in Kingston, so if staff can look at them and probably see if that's something that we could use in our rural area to allow more density, if so. And we also cooked the fish for the Fireman's Fair, and it was very good success this year too. And I have one question for Jesse, actually. I was gonna ask it earlier when the committee reports, but it didn't click till after. So Jesse, we talk about expanding the village core from exit 3 to the Uniac House or wherever. So if that happened, would the speed go down to 50 in the village core? Because I know wherever we have village core in Mount Uniac is down to 50 now.
Through Madam Warden, could you repeat the question again? It's
So if we change the zoning from like R1, R2, or highway commercial to village core, so in the village core area, is there certain speed for the highway department, or it doesn't matter?
Through Madam Warden, regardless of our zoning, the province will set the speed based on the structure of the road. So they do not consider the zoning, the municipal zoning, in the determination of speed limits.
No, because it happened in Mount Uniac where we have village core is down to 50. So that's why I asked. Thank you. That's it.
Counselor Perry?
Thank you, Madam Warden. Yes, it was a very busy month. I was lucky to be here at the municipality building on June 6th to see the kickoff of artist Quentin Sillyboy and his mural, of the first start of the first mural, Mi'kmaq Art. It was well attended. Very interesting to see how the whole process starts from a blank canvas, and look forward to seeing what the final products are going to be when they're finally done, as this is Indigenous Peoples Month as well. Had the honor to present the Grade 8 Leadership Award on behalf of the municipality at Uniac District School on Monday to Callum McDonald. It was great to see that the school recognized his leadership potential, as the last number of years he has volunteered with the municipality for both the Uniac and Kennecook summer programs. And I heard he has actually been hired this summer to be a program leader. So it shows his efforts have always been there. And if anybody's ever at the Mount Uniac Library, he's one of the ones that's helping out there quite a bit. A very nice young man who definitely is putting the community first, and it was great to see him get that leadership award. The Fireman's Fair was a success. It was a little bit of a downer on Friday night where the fireworks couldn't go because of the dry conditions. but it was still very well attended. People lined up, and they seemed to have a good time catching up. A good time was had by all. Saturday morning was the parade. Councillor Hebb was there in his big fancy red truck. My son liked it because he likes red trucks, and the parade was very well attended. So much so that not even halfway through, I ran out of everything that I was passing out to the children, and the municipal yo-yos were a really big hit, and some of the parents. They wanted to get them too, but I said, sorry, they're for the kids. So that was something that was very, very well attended. It was a beautiful day, a good turnout. And I can attest that the fish on Saturday night and the wings were a big hit. I got there 20 minutes before the kitchen was going to open because last year I arrived 20 minutes after it opened and they had sold out. So this year I was one of the first ones in line and got supper for the family. And within 10 to 15 minutes, the line was very long, and it was very well attended, and you had a good sense of community. The fire department, again, went above and beyond in setup and tear down for it, as well as other community volunteers. And it's really a good testament to things returning in the communities back to normal, which is a good sign. So congratulations to all those involved. Yesterday, had the opportunity to go to the RCP open house in Rawdon, again, with the rain and the fog. It was very well attended. The warden was there. She had a car full.
I did, sheltering from the rain.
Sheltering from the rain. I don't know, must have been 8 or 9 kids in the back of her car sheltering from the rain, but everybody was having a good time. The superintendent was down from Antigonish to talk to the crowds. There was... unfortunately, the dog was called away on a service call, so the dog handler was not there. But hot dogs were had by all, and it was good to see the facility. Lots of people in the area were commenting that they never saw the interrogation room and the breathalyzer room, and getting to know the officers that service the area also was really good. And I even ran into Mr. Matheson's granddaughter she lives up in 9 Mile, and she was there with her kids, so it was good to talk to her as well. Last night, we had our library board meeting, our AGM, for the Colchester East Hants Library Board, where Councillor Mitchell ended his term as board chair and somehow roped me into taking over for him. So I'll be the board chair for the next year leading into the election. Congratulations to all of the grads of Uniacke District School who will now go on to Avonview next year. In our small community, graduating from junior high is actually quite a big event. They all showed up and showed out, and it was very good to see. Tomorrow, Avonview will have their graduation. So as everybody, to echo what the warden says, heads off on their next stage, whether that be further education into the workforce or whatever endeavors they choose, we wish them all the best and have a safe summer. Moving forward with that. The last thing I have on my list is concerns that were raised by residents that just kind of highlight some of the need that we've talked about with in regards to lot grading and flooding. There has been an abundance amount of correspondence between staff, myself, regarding a couple of properties and perceived wetlands and causes of this, and there's definitely a need. There's a property where I went out to look at it, and the neighbor was saying it was a wetland, and there was 8-inch outflow pipes coming off their property directly onto their neighbor's property. All of the water off the roofs of the buildings and all of the French drains drained directly onto the lower property next door. So this goes back to the point that, I do know staff has been tasked for a report of some kind to seek some alternative measures, but this is something that is happening. It is impacting people. It's stopping some people from being able to construct their homes, cottages, or impacting their septics of their neighbors. And there's no recourse right now. There's no protection other than legal action. So I look forward to that staff report coming, I believe, sometime later in the fall or wherever it is in the workflow, but it is definitely something that's going to be needed. And with that, we look at floodplain zoning. I believe the word is used quite a bit in areas where it might not be appropriate. But we do have to kind of look at where some rivers meet bodies of water, where there is some natural flooding that occurs in the spring and falls with the heavy rains and different areas that is not always captured, right? Roads are constantly overrun by water. I think at some point in the future, we're going to have to look at, as more and more subdivisions and more development happens in the rural and on-serviced area, these impacts can have a great effect because everybody is on well and septic. So anytime a road overflows and goes onto a property, it can have very big dire effects on a lot of people. So I think at some point we're going to have to examine how that looks, because it seems to be happening more prevalent than not. So I was asked by residents to bring that forward to possibly look at that. And I know we have a motion and a report coming, but I just wanted to highlight that is coming, so anybody watching in and the residents know it is being worked on. It has been taken in by staff and by council to look to address in the future. Thank you.
Counselor McPhee. Third time lucky?
There we go. Thank you, Warden. First thing I'd like to touch on is, of course, Hay Days, Canada Day celebration in Shubenacadie. It's full steam ahead. We know the weather could be iffy, but anyway, the plan now is to go ahead with it. And of course, in the morning, there's the car show, barbecue, and strawberry shortcake for sale on the United Church parking lot area. It's always well attended. At 11 a.m., there's a children's parade at the Shubenacadie Community Park. So anybody, don't have any, will join us on that. But anybody would like to have children would like to put in a float or just whatever they want, that'd be great. 1 p.m. is the parade, and that goes down through the main street and up through Trunk 2 towards Milford. And of course, there's the rubber duck race, and those are on sale at Home Hardware and be on sale at the site during the day. There's a tug of war, bouncy castles, Hay Day t-shirts for sale, and a concert by Pangea at 7 p.m. that goes until the fireworks happen. So the fireworks are always a great display, and we've actually put more money in, so they'll be expanded this year.
As long as there's no burn ban.
Yes, everything is, well, if it rains, there won't be a burn ban, I guess. Anyway, I encourage everybody to attend it's a good time. On the 19th of June, I attended a Zoom workshop on identity theft and settler responsibility. It was interesting to see, well, there was one main presenter, a keynote speaker. It's very interesting to see how that affects the First Nations people in Canada. On the 21st of June, participated in a Freedom March from the ceremonial site at the old residential school site to the community park, which goes right by the where the former train station was, which is what the march represents, where the kids came to Shubenacadie on the train and went back home on the train. So it was very good, with testimonials from some survivors and drumming and music and a nice lunch. Must say it was very enjoyable. The weather was great. The 24th of June, I attended the municipality housing workshop, and today, the 26th, Zoom meeting with NSP regarding vegetation management and other issues, and plus the audit committee tonight. And I'd just like to say, with the graduates class of 2024, I'll be presenting the snow bursary tomorrow afternoon at HERH. And for all graduates, as a graduate of 1974, I can only tell you the next 50 years is going to go a hell of a lot faster than you expect. Yeah. And with that, I'll pass on.
Counselor Head.
Thank you, Warden. Attended the 9 Mile River Open House Fire Department. It was great to see the new equipment they got there and all the upgrades that they've put in place over the last couple of years, and it was very well attended by the community. Had a Zoom meeting with Northern Waste Regional meeting, and things are ongoing there. There's really nothing new to report on that. Things will be looking different when fall comes, I think, and things start to come together. Like to congratulate all the grads who are out there. It's the first day of the rest of your life, so make it worth the while. As Councillor Perry mentioned, I attended the parade in Mount Uniacke, and I was amazed at the amount of people that was out there that day. It was very well attended and very well put on, very well organized, and there's an abundant number of participants in the parade, and that's the kind of things we like to see throughout the municipality. And other than that, that's it, Warden. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Eisner.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Yes, it was a big trip out to Calgary. I've done a lot of the provincial ones, but it's enough comparison. Food is beyond. They just keep serving you. But anyways, it was really good. I just got a question for staff on the water service meters, not the meters, but the standpipes. How high can they be or should be? Got a resident that says it's a hazard, that it's too high.
Through you, Madam Warden, there isn't. It varies, and typically it can be changed. I would encourage a resident that's concerned about it to contact the water utility to discuss. There might be some options that staff could work with them on. water@easthants.ca would be a starting point, or to call into the main office and get transferred to the water utility. And it comes up that the key is what if, as a property owner, is landscaping their property and around that water shutoff, is to not bury it. That's critical. It shouldn't be protruding significantly out of the ground. So if that is the topic, we would want to engage with that resident and figure out a solution that can work for everyone. So please pass that on, or if you can ping us a note with the address, we'll reach out and discuss with them.
Yeah, it's about 2.5 feet.
Oh yeah, that's way too high.
Yeah, they had a water break there, so that's why.
Okay.
Anyway, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all for me.
Counselor Ellington? Counselor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. As you can see, June is a busy month. Attended the FCM conference in Calgary from June 6th to the 10th. I did 2 study tours. The first one was the Calgary Central Library. I was amazed at the architect and the furnishings inside. There was drummers and all kind of native artifacts that you could look at, and the new system of how the library operated. I also attended a stormwater management tour showing how you can use natural vegetation to control your stormwater. I think Walter was on the same one. The councilor. I sat through, enjoyed the tax sale on June 11th here at the Lloyd Mathison Center. I'm just amazed at how efficient it's run by staff and how enjoyable it is to just sit here and be a spectator. We finished the Elmsdale Fire Department audit on June the 12th. We're caught up to date from the COVID years. I attended the Richard Gilby Car Show just to mingle with some of the residents. Along with Councilor McPhee, I celebrate Indigenous Day, the Freedom Day March in Shubenacadie on the 21st. I was asked if I wanted to volunteer, so I volunteered to help to keep track of everybody, and also if any of the older ones need assistance, to raise my hand, and somebody would come with a golf cart and drive them to the park. The Elmsdale Fire Department Awards Night was on the 22nd with the dinner. MP Blois and Emily McDonald were there. The warden was invited, but she was away. And Councillor Garden-Cole was invited, but for some, she missed. She thought it was this Saturday coming and not last week. The library board met last evening with the AGM, and my 2 years plus of the next year ended. So I thank the staff and the board for their support, and congratulated Councillor Perry for being the new chair. And I'm now just a board member. That morning on the 25th, I attended rec in Milford for the leadership. It was supposed to be on Wednesday, but they switched it to Tuesday. And I presented a leadership award, which was very well done by staff. They were very impressed with the plaque. To Bryn Middlestaff from Elmsdale. She was excited to get it, and I was excited to just to see the quality of work that staff put in getting it, and even the rec staff were impressed with the plaque that she received. Did the audit tonight before council. Tomorrow, Hansea's graduation is on at 2, but this will be the first of many that I'll miss, because after 17 years of enjoying my granddaughter, she graduates tomorrow at the Sportsplex of Dartmouth. So I've made sure that I've cleared my slate to be there. I know it's going to be emotional. We did proms pictures yesterday, and I was more than happy to stand beside her in her gown and get my picture taken. So that's all. I want to wish everybody a great July and Canada Day, and for the graduates that I won't get to see tomorrow, I wish them well in their ventures going forward. And if you're gonna do something, do the best you can. And that's all.
Councillor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. As you might have noticed in correspondence for information, there was a letter sent out by the government with regard to the Lawrence House Museum, stating that will be closed this season and so on, and that they are reaching out to community groups, and they were reaching out to people for interviews with them. And that has started, and as of Monday, I had a virtual meeting with them. And what I did was reiterate how important that museum is to the community, the Hants North area, the municipality, and the province. And what I really said, it's an economic driver for the tourism strategy we have going forward. And I reached out and I said that it would be good for them to cooperate with the groups in the area and work with them. And what I did bring up is I do believe that this municipality has a role to play with regard to that Lawrence House, because it all fits within our tourism strategy. And I would like, I asked them to reach out to us, but what I would like is staff maybe to reach out to them and, reiterate what I have said, how important this is to the tourism sector in our area. Now, I don't know if I need a motion for that, or staff could reach out to them. I think Laura Bennett, or I have some names here and stuff here too, that if they could do that. Pardon me?
We'll reach out.
We'll reach out, because I said, I said we have an excellent staff, and they do good work, and they know what the importance is. So anyway, I'm sure you'll not disappoint me when you speak to them. So. Also, we have a paving project through our area, and it's just called a strengthening paving project. It runs probably, a better part of 6 kilometers or more down through, it goes right through the small village of Maitland. And it is, what the purpose of it is to strengthen the road so we will not be prevalent to spring weight restrictions in the spring. The only problem is they put rain gutters, asphalt rain gutters, down through the middle of the village, some places on both sides, where gutters never were before. And the problem is we have a lot of walkers in that area, and we have a lot of people coming to and going from the post office. And it's up, as you approach it, heading south, it's coming up a hill. And we have older people that walk up to get their mail. They have to navigate these rain gutters. So a lot of them has complained, a lot of people have complained, and where they put in the rain gutters, what they did in front of their properties, they asphalted them back in. So what that does is water comes down, meets a head wall, and where's it gonna go? Out on the road. So it's a safety factor. So I would move that the municipality write a letter to Department of Transportation asking them to reconsider reconsider and relook at the gutters that were installed through the village of Maitland, and that the problems that I have just mentioned they be made aware of. I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Hebb. Any discussion? Question's been called. Motion is passed unanimously.
All right. Yesterday, I attended the open house at the Rodden RCMP. It was a little damp, but there was a lot of people there. I think when I was there, the warden and Councillor Perry was there, and at the time, it was great to see that many people out for the weather and everything. So it was a very well event. Met the staff sergeant and his wife and his daughter and so on, and a lot of higher dignitaries in the RCMP, as Councillor Perry has mentioned. So I think it was successful and hopefully put the RCMP in good light around the rural area. On Monday evening, I had the opportunity to present an 80th certificate of recognition for an 80th birthday to Norma Haynes of Upper Kennecook, which was very enjoyable, and she really appreciated that. I also attended the grade 6 graduation at KDS, where my granddaughter left her elementary years. I also attended awards night at Hants North Rural High School and presented the Leadership Award, and that award went to Kayla Miller. She was very appreciative of that. There was a good show. There was parents there. The gym was full, and it was very well done. Upcoming on July the 13th, Canada's oldest general store, Friesen Roy, will be celebrating its 185th birthday. There are events planned around that with regard to refreshment tents, entertainment, and et cetera, that you would see around celebrations such as that. I hope that all, or some of you at least, can be in attendance. It's not very often a general store can say they're 185 years old. I think I'll put that out there, but I think the awards are somewhere around the vicinity of, or presentations are around 1 to 1:30, but I will confirm that. So, just kind of on the lighter side, I had to laugh when Councillor Perry said he was passing out municipal yo-yos. We've been called municipal yo-yos a lot ourselves, so I was wondering how that was going to go.
Our pictures are not on them.
Anyway, I kind of got a chuckle out of that. So, anyway, that was very good. So, right now, that I do believe that's all I have at this time, other than saying that congratulating all the graduates that are leaving their elementary years and are leaving the high school years and heading into their another phase of their lifetime. Be safe. don't ever forget where you come from and be proud of your community that you hail from. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Yes, I did neglect to mention the RCMP open house last night. As I said, it's been a busy month, and as the other counselors, Counselor Garden Cole was there as well, and as other counselors have said, it was very well attended and very well received by all, and the officers barbecued a lot of hamburgers and a lot of hot dogs, and the kids really enjoyed the RCMP swag that was provided, and the visit from Safety Bear was a real highlight for some of the younger ones. Just before we move on, I just would like to take a moment to express, I believe on behalf of council and myself, sympathy to the family of the late Marg Harris. Marg passed away recently. She was, I believe, the oldest resident in my area, and I don't know, there's a good chance the entire municipality. Had she lived another couple of weeks, she would have been 108. And she was a remarkable lady, remarkable. I can't say more than that, and she will certainly be missed by her family and her community and the changes that the lady lived through, and she was as sharp as a tack, and she will certainly be missed. So I just wanted to extend sympathy to the Harris family.
What was her secret?
I don't know, but she gave up hairdressing, maybe before she was 100 years old, and she gave up her license a few years after that, and, oh, yes, yes, and a remarkable woman. So that concludes the business from counselors. So next, we would set the date and time of the next council meeting, which is July 16th, 2024, regular meeting of council for policy and in camera, and the July 24th, 2024, regular meeting of council.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, motion carried. Next, we will go in camera for the I&O item added earlier and the CAO priorities. So I would be looking for a motion to go in camera. Moved by Councillor Mitchell.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Perry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. Staff will Okay, I would report that we met in camera to discuss CAO priorities and a contractual issue. Out of those discussions, we have one motion coming forward, and Councillor McPhee.
Thank you, Warden. I move that council direct a letter to go to Public Works Minister Maslin inquiring if Nova Scotia Public Works would upgrade the provincial sections of Rolston Drive in Elmsdale and Havenwood Drive, Shubenacadie, to municipal urban paved street standard, with the municipality assuming ownership and responsibility for maintenance of the provincial section after the upgrade.
Seconded.
Seconded by Councillor Hebb. Any discussion?
Question.
Question has been called. Two, three, four, five, six, and the motion is passed unanimously.
We'll be lucky to hit a
I'd be now looking for a motion to adjourn.
second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. We'll give staff time to shut down the system, and thank you folks.